What's up, Maliah? Emily here. Just wanted to give you and Gabby some positive, productive feedback on these portfolio sites. So, as a video editor, your demo reel is certainly important, which is why I like it here up front and center. But as you can see, where it says video editing here and it said your name and demo reel behind this, it gets kind of clunky, right? It makes it a little bit harder to see and read. Plus there's an overlay on this, which gives it a more of a hazy sort of appearance than you might otherwise see it kind of in that full color or sort of full opacity. My recommendation for you is to do kind of like a shorter version of this demo reel that is just imagery alone, no words at all, and maybe even no like logos or title pages like the way you just saw that say escape. So it's just something fully visual that's happening here, and then we can link to the full demo on this page or to see it over here in your portfolio. So another thing to kind of highlight here is your logo. It's awesome. I've enjoyed it, since I first saw it many portfolios ago. But one of the things to note is that, let's say we go to your contact page, your name disappears from this, but all that remains is this logo. And so either you want to add your name up here with it or replace the logo up here with just your name and then feature that logo as kind of like a watermark or a graphic, or even, it could somewhat look like an icon in various places. You just want to always make sure that your name or the identification of whose site this is apparent on every single page. Jump back to the home page now. Scrolling down, we've got your featured work, which is cool. I like that you're highlighting a few of these things, but why are you highlighting it, right? And what did you do for these projects? So you've got media content marketing, but I don't know, like, did you shoot this stuff? Did you just edit it? What was your role? Were you just like the marketing coordinator? Of course, I, as your instructor and your colleague on this project, know that, but the world at large isn't going to know that for any one of these things. So a little bit more contextual information about those projects would be great. So I like that you got this little bio here. Here I would say if you are currently on my site, not just if you are current on my site. It's nice to get to know a little bit about you. There's a little kind of a white line on this picture. I might crop it a little bit more because that looks just a little bit off there. I can appreciate that you put your resume, but please know that you have it here and you have it on your contact page, and when you update that resume with the feedback that you were given earlier this month, you're definitely going to need to update that in both places there as well. So if I jump to, so we've got a contact form down here, but is this different than what we see on this page? It kind of looks like it is because this is so small versus when I jump back to this page and scroll down here, we have contact that's like really big. So I'm not quite sure what's going on, if this is an index page, and so that these are just different sections. It's kind of hard to understand the navigation options within that. The other thing is we've got kind of like a maybe a dusty black down here and then a true black up here. So kind of stylistically looking and just wondering about like what your color palette is, and to like question the consistency between these two, like if that was purposeful or the color just didn't quite match up. Let's jump over here to the portfolio. So here, this is a kind of an awkward sentence. It says, the following is past project I have worked on throughout my 4 years of video editing, motion graphics, and design. What I would say is that, this demo reel is the culmination of 4 years worth of video editing, motion graphics, and design. Scrolling down, I like that you've included these projects here in kind of these categories, and that you tell me the software that you use so I can kind of fully understand how you're approaching this. But again, you want to include some details about, you've given us a nice title here, but can you give like a descriptive summary statement that says, on this videography, was it editing or was it shooting? Just making that distinction between, like what your role was on that particular piece. And same thing for here, right? So like with the zero gravity, this is all footage that you were given and compiled together. So I would just make it clear that you edited this, to be used as content marketing. And marketing is misspelled right there. So definitely, you know, you want to go over this with a fine-tooth comb as far as you know, making sure that your spelling is on point. There's some weird sort of alignment and spacing issues going on here. I'm not quite sure why this video is kind of stepping down in this area. You might need to check out some alignment. Here you say check out more. So I can hover over this and see that you're going to YouTube. You might want to give that kind of heads up to someone before they click this and then get taken elsewhere, right? So if you say check out more, or you can say check out, you know, my full body of work on YouTube, might be something else. So it looks like you've got various social media connected here, which is awesome, and just kind of gives us some ideas of other ways that we can connect with you online. I wouldn't say you have a ton of work to do here, Maliah, because you've been really strong all along in showcasing your talents. You've had a portfolio from like pretty much the very start, and kind of a very strong brand going on with what we see here. These few tweaks, you know, it will really make a difference in the polished appearance of this portfolio site. So again, you know, read over this stuff pretty carefully and read it out loud to yourself, because in some of these cases it's easier to find this awkward wording if you have to say it out loud. Many times if we've looked at something over and over and again, our eyes just skip over and kind of we see what we want to see, or we see what we want to hear, or how we want it to be phrased, but that's not actually how it is. So, you know, this is a very important detail. And ask somebody else to take a look at it, and ask them to take a look at it just specifically for wording or for spelling, just to make sure that you get that all, you know, spit shined and polished up, you know, so that you can have the best representation of your work to get a job, right? So next up, I'm going to take a look at Gabby's site. So here we have, you know, this kind of really soft, peachy pink pastel background. You know, one thing I'll say that like the cleanliness or the minimalist approach works really well, but I'm seeing a few different kind of stylistic approaches here that I want to just, you know, highlight, and then, you know, make sure that you are making purposeful choices, right? So the kind of the layering of the text here over the image, it makes this part a little bit harder to read. And this is a cool image, but it says really nothing about media communications. Like, it's not really showing you do anything media communications related. And the crop is just kind of a tad bit awkward in that, you know, you can barely see that, you know, the top of your shirt here. So it almost looks as if like you're naked here on the rooftop, which we know is not the case, but it kind of, you know, demands like a second look. And that's probably not the first impression that you want to give. Scrolling down here, this typeface that you're using as a header, I like it, and I like this pairing together, and so I want to, you know, to make sure that you've developed this as a style that you're going to continue to use, you know, throughout the site in various ways. So we have just a little bit of information about you wanting to be a media strategist and helping you know, people with their brand and their marketing and telling stories. But like everything that you've expressed to me has to do with fashion, and so it's a bit of a question mark to me why I don't see anything about that, particularly in this area. It's almost as if like you think this is what a media communications portfolio should look like, so you're trying to create one that's not fully characteristic of who you want to be when you get out there in the industry. Keep in mind that you can showcase deep skills in branding, in strategic marketing, storytelling, social media, videography, all centered around the fashion interests that you have. So, you know, what is it that you really want to do, and how can you create a body of work that supports that? I'm going to jump over here to your portfolio. So I like that you have this in categories. Keep in mind that, you know, as I hover over this, it brings up sort of like a colored background that lets me kind of see it more clearly. It's interesting because when I hover over graphic design, it's like there's no spacing or no padding with that color. But when I hover over web design, like you can see there's so much padding here on the edges. And same thing with video editing. but not with marketing. So that's just kind of a weird stylistic difference. This white line at the bottom seems kind of, it seems kind of not purposeful. Down here, this copyright should be copywritten to you at this point with today's date. So, you know, I'm curious here as if these, it seems like these are stock images. And so when you put a stock image with, let me just jump back here real quick. When you put a stock image with graphic design or a stock image with video here or marketing, it almost seems like, well, if media is your world, why are you using stock images, right? That you could create something that's a bit more representative of who you are. So I'm going to go ahead and click on graphic design, and it's going to take me to these two projects that showcase your Lake Worth longboards and your Timber Shave Club projects here. It's interesting because I thought that you only did one of these in graphic design, but you must have had the opportunity to try a couple of projects that month in Jacob's class, which is cool. So one thing to think about is that you've just given me an image here, right? And this image has a picture of words on it. And because it is a collection of pixels in the shape of letters that form words that form sentences, I can read this as a human and make sense of it. But a machine, like a search engine, like Google, can't look at this text and match it with a user's search terms, meaning that this is not keyword-rich content. It's basically just a picture of words. And so what needs to accompany anything that's in your portfolio is a title and a description of the work, what you did, what was your creative approach, and what were the tools that you used. Because if someone were to type in your name and then maybe graphic design or Lake Worth longboards, they wouldn't find this site because Google couldn't index this picture of words. So the way that you approach this is just by, for everything you put in your portfolio, to make sure you have that titling and description that creates the metadata that will help your site be found. So I'm going to jump back and check out your video and audio. So here, again, like I've got the video that I can watch, but I don't have any title. And let's say I'm super duper busy and I can only watch one thing. A title and a description would help me choose which one is more relevant to me and for me to learn more about you, right? So you also, here with CamOp, SoundOp, you are abbreviating things that maybe somebody in the industry, like that's how they abbreviate it, or truncate the words to describe it. But is that going to match what someone puts as a search term in Google to find you, right? So you don't want to abbreviate this. If anything, you want to expand upon it and like really kind of talk more about your roles and what you did. Give a title of this video and a description of the event for sure. One thing I want to point out is that when I'm on these subsequent portfolio pages, there's nothing here to identify this as belonging to Gabby in any sort of way. This navigation area up here where you have home and portfolio should be your name. And then the navigation link should be moving up over into this area. And so that every page I'm on, I can see it clearly branded and identified as you. So I'm going to jump back to portfolio and head over to web design. And so we've got the Real Deal Taco site and the Shams website. So I can link out to these various places to see the full site. And when I do that, I was going to make, so like it opened for me in the same new browser window, right? So that's great. But so one thing that I would say here is maybe view the full site, right? Another thing you might consider is putting these in mock-ups, right? So it shows how it would look on like an iMac screen, a cinema display, or how it might look on a mobile device or an iPad. Could be something cool, an addition to add there. Last but not least, going to jump here to marketing. So you've got the business plan and this marketing campaign, which is cool. Again, curious as to, for someone in media using these stock images, I would think that you'd likely be able to create some, with your skills. So just something to think about. Looks like you have PDFs of these documents. So that's going to be keyword-rich content. But how about a little bit of like a teaser or a preview of what we might see on this, maybe just a short title and description of the project itself. So These are all just small details that you need to consider to really shape this portfolio up. It probably feels overwhelming getting this amount of feedback at this point. But the good news is, Gabby, that you still have some time, and you certainly have the support, of your cohort, Maliah, and myself, to get this at a place that feels like truly representative of who you are and what you want to do. And I think that this, it's definitely showcases your skills in certain ways, but I don't know if it showcases who you are. And to the extent that that's important to you, I'm definitely willing to work with you on that. So you guys let me know if you have any questions about this feedback. The expectation is not that you make these changes and resubmit it to me for credit. You will get full credit for doing this here, but this is, these sites as they aren't ready to go out and get you guys jobs. And so the motivation to incorporate this feedback should just be purely to create something that is going to help you get employed. So let me know if you have any questions, because I am here to help.